So, Happy New Year, Instigating Women.
Happy New Year.
Good to see your faces.
I know 2023 feels like it's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a great year.
Great year.
In comparison to the last couple we've had, it's going to be an amazing year.
Oh my goodness. Just be able to get outside and not worry so much about masking and just too much thought going into every move. Feels pretty nice.
I just read this quote that cracked me up so much about 2023, and it said, no one announced 2023 as your year. Just tiptoe in, don't move anything, don't make a lot of noise. Let's just be cool.
Yeah. No TikToks about it. Let's just sneak on in, and maybe it won't when you're here.
Perfect.
I like that. Tiptoe in. Tiptoe in. So where do we want to start? Last time we really focused on our tiny little habits and what we might try. I know I've tried some things and tweaked some things, but anyone else want to go first?
I nominate Kate.
Okay. I was waiting. Thank you for the nomination. It's an honor just to be nominated.
Privilege.
So it's a privilege just to be nominated. So the first couple of days, because I rolled my husband in this. I was like, okay, we're supposed to do this. And the first couple of days, I was like, I haven't been doing it. Like, what's wrong? And my husband's like, oh, well, we don't cuddle on Saturdays and Sundays. Because he leaves and goes, there's no coffee delivery list. He leaves and he goes and he will start the bread, or he'll, whatever, he'll work at 4:30 in the morning because he's had a brilliant idea or whatever. So realizing that prompt that isn't Monday through Friday. So then when we did start our cuddling in the morning on Monday, I think I forgot it the first day, and then I remembered it the second day. And I might have dropped off somewhere in there. But what I realized was it wasn't actually the prompt that I needed. It was a prompt, a remembering of oh, I said I would do this. And so even though I might have missed it in the cuddle time in the morning, there was a trigger of me going through the day, just having made that commitment of me going through the day and being like, oh, well, I can do a walking meditation, or I can do a breath before I open the door type of meditation, or in just being more mindful and present. So that's what I have felt and heard over the last, I think it's been 3 weeks since we last talked.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say that I'm more consistent than I was. Okay. At least 5 minutes a day, sometimes 20. But it's never, it might be a breath in the morning when we cuddle, but it's more likely on the cushion over there or walking.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice a difference in terms of your connection with your husband from just that amount of increase in cuddling?
So it didn't actually increase the cuddling, because the cuddling are already there.
I misunderstood your goal. I thought you were also forgetting to cuddle.
Oh no. I just didn't realize that we didn't cuddle on Saturdays and Sundays.
Bless your stinking hearts. You guys are too cute.
On New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, I did get coffee in bed though, because I told him about your coffee in bed, and he's like, I got you coffee.
This is good. We're impacting each other's marriages just through this podcast. Because now I'm going to be like, Kate cuddles every morning before they get out of bed.
I don't know that you want that though, because he's off making your coffee every day.
I want the cuddle after the coffee.
Oh, you want him to get back in bed? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that.
the husbands are going to love us.
What's not to love?
That's true.
Exactly. They're lucky.
And so are we, which is why we get coffee in bed once a year on New Year's Eve.
Or Liz every day.
Yes. Trade-offs, Liz.
That's true.
So I had a prompt, which was when I got a text to at least think about whether I could take a walk. And even if that were a walk around the room or a walk around the house or a walk outside. And I did that for a few days and then realized I was kind of feeling like I was a gerbil on a wheel, which is not a feeling that I want to have. And so I shifted finally to, as soon as I get a text, I just kind of take stock of, am I really doing the best thing for myself from a health perspective in that moment? Mm-hmm. And what I realized was a lot of my texts come in the late afternoon and early evening. And I do a lot of snacking in the late afternoon and evening. So it just helped me realize that I know I probably wasn't doing the best thing for my health during those hours. And so I'm starting to shift snacks from what I was, the cheeses and things, to more nuts, to now more broccoli. If it's the right time, go take a small walk, but it's more, I have a whole list of options to contemplate rather than just being that trigger to tell me to go take a walk. So it feels better, and it caused me to learn a little bit more about my routine, and I feel better.
I love that. I really love that. The text, which is kind of we hear a lot about the negativity of our phones and being addicted and whatever, but you're making it a tool to be mindful about your health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in all different ways. And then I get to play with, what do I really want to focus on in that moment? If I have time, and if I don't, I don't. Mm-hmm. But it was funny because originally, after a few days after the fun wore off, I started to raise a text. I was like, damn it. Who gives them the right to get me going? So
you're like, wait a minute, I self-imposed this.
Yeah, what the hell am I doing? So I just had to shift gears a little bit.
You bring up though that delicate dance where we have to have some kind of process in place to make time to do the self-care steps, but then we don't want it to turn into yet another thing that feels like, it's a stick to beat us with, right? And that is a funny segue, because I found myself, I completely forgot about doing the breathing when I first open my eyes before I look at my news. But I have my very elaborate, somewhat influenced by Kate, weekly and daily dashboards. And just for those people that don't know, Kate has like 20 different organizational systems, and she doesn't see any issue with that. So I decided to adopt her mindset, and I have like 10 different lists, and there's paper, electronic, you name it, like husband, he's one too. I'll be like, I need you to set an alarm to remind me to blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so what I did was I would make a list of all the self-care things that I wanted to do, like do my bread, which, is my science project that I do every week, lift weights. What was the other one? Listen to music. But what I found was I was getting really distracted by the chaos of life or just whatever, doom scrolling. And so I found myself last week, in the span of 50 minutes, I tried to do all the self-care things at the same time. I
was like cramming for a final.
I had an 8-pound weight in this hand, and I was stirring my dough with this hand. And I was listening to, it was new music. That was the key. was to try to expose myself to new music. And so I was listening to the top albums from 2022. And I suddenly realized that I was totally stressed. Completely stressed myself out, trying to check all my self-care boxes.
I actually threw out my back one time, blow drying my hair and doing squats. Yeah. One thing at a time.
Yeah, you're
That makes
stressing
me feel
me
better,
out,
Kate.
both of you, just thinking about all that.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, I have a client right now that updated his goal plan, and it has 8 different categories in it. And he shared it with me on the Zoom screen. And one of them was fall in love with vegetables, learn to consistently make 6 leafy green vegetable recipes. And his current state, like, is he doesn't eat a single vegetable, but he wants to have fallen in love with vegetables and know how to make 5 solid recipes by 4 weeks.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, you know, how could you make a little bit of room for yourself to fall somewhere between considering Cheetos a vegetable and making borscht, you know, like, so, but it's interesting that I do the same thing. We're all human. We're all trying to navigate that balance between doing nothing to care for ourselves and turning self-care into another have to.
Yeah. And I think we need to remember a goal in this is to enjoy it while you're doing whatever it is and making it small and tiny enough so you can enjoy it, and then celebrate that you did it. If we forget the celebration, because it's those endorphins that come when we celebrate something that we're really trying to become more aware of than anything else.
You know, Liz, as you were talking, I was reflecting on my previous habits, which these get formed really easily, by the way. But I have the capacity to take anything fun, anything, making bread, making cakes, like anything, and make it a complete and utter obligation on like a weekly basis. I got to the point where I was like, well, I have to make the bread from scratch. I have to make the yogurt from scratch. I have to make all this stuff from scratch. This was pre-pandemic. I was taking the fun out of everything. And just that idea of what are we doing for the fun of it? Not for the 2 loaves to feed our families weekly, or the well, I have to, otherwise we're going to starve, or I have to, otherwise people are going to be disappointed. Like I started taking, Liz, you are not frozen, but I feel like Gwen is frozen.
Am I?
Oh, you were, but maybe you're not now. It was frozen in a really pretty expression though.
Oh, okay.
But that idea of like, you can be a part of a club and not lead it. You can bake bread, and I'm not picking on your bread, Liz. This was my issue. Like, you can bake bread once in a while and not every week. You can, you know, yada, yada, yada. Just what are we doing for the fun of it?
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I keep having to remind myself, because I'm going to do bread this afternoon. It's not about the bread, because last week's was a bit gummy. I ate it anyway, but it was a little gummy. And I thought, oh, I could Google what to do if my bread's gummy. And I just had to keep coming back to, it's not about the bread. It's not about bread. It's about me using my brain to just measure things and follow instructions and make something. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder.
Creating is your form of creativity and fun.
Yeah.
Well, and the genesis of it was that, you know, I'm paranoid about dementia and Alzheimer's, given my family history. And every single article I read about it says create new neural pathways and keep the neural pathways from dying by constantly,
Learning.
Challenging your brain to learn new things. So that's where it came from. But it is fun as long as I don't focus on the outcome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And try to lift weights at the same time.
And
another thing. Ah, so much.
Why do we have this tendency to do it all so that nothing is fun?
I don't know. It's a real fun sapper, though.
But you know what I mean? Like, what are we getting out of making, I'll use I terms. What am I getting out of making things not fun? Do I get to feel
or do we
better?
just think as adults we don't need fun or don't deserve fun or have grown out of fun?
Yeah. Or it's selfish to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Indulgent to have fun.
Wasting
It's gotta be
time.
for.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's the worst. Can't do that.
Ooh, I have to be efficient.
Yeah.
Why?
Am I forgetting, or did you tell us we needed to find a word for 2023 or an intention or something?
I was just wondering, do we want to think of individual words or intentions or whatever's for this year? Maybe
I
not.
love that idea.
I'm kind of struggling, but go ahead.
I'll tell you mine because I was trying to make sure I came today doing whatever you'd asked me to do. Because bless you for thinking of, okay, here's some things that we might want to talk about together. And so I just got this book. It's called Lost and Found by Catherine Schultz. And I got it because I listened to her on NPR. So she's a reporter and she just finished this memoir on reflecting on grief, gratitude, and happiness. And I am definitely in a place of struggling with grieving somebody that is still here, right? Still physically present, but not herself. And trying to navigate through that while still living and figuring out how to live whilst doing this really hard thing with this person that isn't herself. And so Catherine, on the radio talked about the word and she said it's her favorite word. And the reason it's her favorite word is because it allows you to connect to disparate realities and to disparate experiences. And it was this massive aha moment for me as I was driving. And I just started crying and I was like, that is my intention. That is my work on this planet this year, is to figure out how to both contend with really hard, gut-wrenching shit that comes with being alive and being in a relationship with other humans, but also find joy, make space for joy, and ease. So that's mine. And
that's big. Can you do and without overwhelming yourself?
We'll see, won't we?
We will, because we'll check in on you, my dear.
There was a thought bubble there. I don't know if you saw it, Gwen. It went F you.
Ah!
Yeah, it's God, it's hard. And that actually a thing for us, I think, for the future to explore together is the last two podcast episodes from Brene Brown on the Living Big. She talks about it with her sister. And it is exactly about this, like what we've been touching on. And so we should all listen to it and then have a future episode talking about it.
Sounds good.
Can I go? I also. So in the spirit of not rhyming and not declaring, 23 is my year or whatever, but the thing that keeps coming back to me is 2023 is for me. And by that, I've been working with my chiropractor around what does my heart want to do? Like, what is the to-do list that my heart wants versus my head? Because my head's all, as I make this transition from corporate world into doubling down on my own business, and my head's like, make a business plan, and market, get get all the things, right? The list is really long, but really concentrating on what my heart is telling me to do, and not freak out so much about all of the things. And then there's a spirit of trust in that whatever I put out there in the world, will come back to me from an energy perspective. And so hopefully not in a bad way. But this idea of really trusting my heart and the me that is my heart versus the warrior head. So 23 is for the me part, that heart person versus the head person.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that, because I think that kind of connects to Gwen's question to me. How are you going to avoid turning that into a stick or a should? And that question you just posed, is this something that is coming from my heart or my head right now, could be a good tool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think there's space for your grief and there's space for your joy. And so, there's this tendency to be like, oh, I'm grieving, but she's still here. So don't. But I'm allowed to feel sad because she's not the mom that you used to have. And there's all this stuff to do. And so, but there's space for that. There's space for the joy. There's space for the grieving. There's space for sadness. And by feeling both the troughs and actually feeling them, you get to feel the highs. But if you're dulling the sadness by not allowing yourself to feel them or feel it, or, all the different things, food, doom scrolling, all the different things that we distract ourselves with to not feel the sadness, then we don't get to feel the highs, the real joys. So there's space for both, and there is, but there can't be so much control.
What about you, Gwen?
Well, I'm almost the exact opposite of Kate. I've been doing all this stuff at home and building my business and going through coaching programs for 2.5 years now. And I'm kind of like ready to lean back into corporate. So I've been trying to figure out, and I don't have any real cool ways to say, kind of ready to take off, kind of ready to accelerate, but I don't know it's any of that. You're both making me think of the Rumi poem about the guest house and kind of welcoming everything, because I have to guard against thinking it's this or that. And even if I do get back into corporate, I don't plan to stop coaching or plan to stop learning or going to coursework to improve myself. I hope to do some corporate, but do it more part-time or do it more interim to be able to continue the coaching and other that I love. And also to take all that learning I've had and be a better corporate something. So it's not like it's black or white. So it's partially Liz, and it's partially heart, Kate, and I think it's just getting better at welcoming all of it. But it's also an exciting new time. It's something new again. It just doesn't feel new again right here in the winter. It's dark and cold and bleak and so. I don't know what my word is or an analogy. Thoughts?
The word fluid.
Fluid.
When you were talking, the word fluid kept coming into my head.
To me, it's so Glennon Doyle, and I think Brene Brown also say this. They say and both.
And both.
And so maybe your word is and both, in the sense of that you are welcoming all of these different aspects. And that you're in this space where you have the capacity. Because on Monday, Tuesday, my first real like day not going into the office when normal people would go, when my ex-coworkers would go into the office, I was like, oh, I didn't have the Sunday night, and this would be Monday nights because of the holiday, but Monday night, what's it called? Like the
Gloom.
Yeah, the gloom, or the like that anticipation, or oftentimes I would have dreams that were not good dreams on anxiety. I guess Monday night anxiety, or Sunday night anxiety. I didn't have that. I slept really, really well. And so like to wake up on Tuesday and be like, well, what out of all this list of stuff do I want to accomplish today? It felt really good. And I've got to be honest, I forgot what my point was, but that's okay. The idea of you're in that space of like, oh, it might be interesting to go back to that world.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm like, whew, I don't want to go to like that world because I'm still, but you've had space and time and can redefine who you are in that world.
Yeah, true. So new interest or renewed interest, both and.
I like what Kate just said about redefining who you are in that world.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take it and redefine it, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's big.
That's the title, by the way, just to put a fine point on it. That's the title of the podcast, Living Big.
Living Big? Really?
Yes. And it's Brene and her sister Ashley, who's a therapist.
Huh.
And it blew my mind, but also they're very, very funny and they cuss a lot, which I, of course, love.
Yes.
So you're saying we need to cuss more in 23?
I already cuss a ton, so I don't have to up my cussing game.
Okay. But we do need to live big. And
yeah.
live with ands and listen to our hearts. All right. Anything else for 2023? Because we will circle back and we will follow up and we will see how we're doing. Are we okay with that?
Absolutely.
I welcome that. I need that.
Okay. Good. This has been fun.
Always nice to spend time with you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that was
So
great.
thank you, ladies. Happy 2023.
Yeah.